Hi, it's Pam, and welcome to part 2 of my 1,000 subscriber Q&A special. Let's get right into the second set of questions. The first one comes from Coffin Matt, who asks, is there a game you absolutely adore that the consensus holds is awful, and conversely, is there a game you detest that everyone else celebrates as a classic? In terms of games that I love that other people don't, the big one is Final Fantasy X2. The game did get sort of mixed reviews. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people have even gone so far as to say that it ruined Final Fantasy X. I think that Final Fantasy X2 is a whole lot of fun. It's a game that I really enjoyed playing. I've played through it a couple times. In terms of story, yes, I will admit it is a little bit silly, and the musical numbers in particular are a little bit embarrassing to get through. But in terms of gameplay, the game is just so fun. I think it's actually got the best sort of combat and spell system of any Final Fantasy game. It's very quick-paced, and the animations are all fast and fun-looking, while at the same time it still uses the ATB. So that's the game that I really like. I like that you can jump to wherever you want. It's full of mini-games. It's full of fun combat. I really like all the dress spheres. So that's one that I really like that I think the consensus doesn't like as much. In terms of games that I don't like that everyone else loves, one of the big ones is DuckTales. Everyone thinks that DuckTales 1 and 2 are classics. I know they are the Disney Capcom games, and those are generally very strong, but I just don't like the DuckTales games. I don't like the cane pogo stick mechanic. I don't like that it's not linear. That's the game I played for not that long. I actually put that game down in the first level. I picked it up, went, not for me, and sort of threw it aside. And in terms of newer games, everyone is talking about Undertale right now and how much they love it, and while I do think that the writing is very cute and charming, the actual gameplay is just no fun at all, so that's a game that I don't particularly like. I hope those answers were controversial enough for you. The next question comes from Jason Torchy, who asks, do you enjoy cooking? If so, what's your favorite cuisine to cook and dine out? I do. I like cooking and eating a lot. In addition to my YouTube and my gaming blog, I have a food blog as well, which is called damngoodfood.net. If you want to check that out, I post recipes and restaurant reviews and things there. My favorite cuisine to cook, I don't really stick to any particular cuisine. It's sort of, I make a lot of steak, I make a lot of pastas and things, so I guess a little bit of Italian. I really like the sort of Mediterranean flavors, so I make a lot of that. In terms of dining out, sort of the same thing. Sorry, that was really loud. In terms of dining out, I like to have things that I wouldn't cook for myself, so I like to go out for fancy dinners and fusion and things. I really like Thai, which is a cuisine I haven't learned to cook yet myself. Next question comes from VGFan80. What was your first video game or system you ever played? Which game or console got you into playing games? I mentioned in my last video, my first console was the NES, although I did have a computer before that. In terms of which games, on the NES in particular, I think the first game I played was the Mario Brothers Duck Hunt combo cart that came with the console. Next question comes from Tuxedo Mark. Which is your favorite generation of video games? This is sort of a tough one because I find in most generations there's one console that I prefer and the other ones sort of take a backseat. That happens in most, but in terms of the overall strongest generation, I think I'd have to go with the 6th generation, I think it is. So PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Dreamcast, even though I didn't really play a whole lot of Dreamcast. I feel like that's maybe the last generation where all of the big gaming companies had a really good console offering and a pretty good library of games to back it up. Since then, I feel like one or two consoles have always been sort of ahead of the rest, and the others have been lagging behind and haven't really captured my interest too much. Next question is from Falco Pell. I suggest you also play Policenauts after Snatcher, which is best between those two of Kojima's masterpieces. I still have not played Policenauts, but if anyone knows how I can easily get a playable copy that's in English, I would be very open to that, because I would like to play that game a lot. And what is your favorite Metal Gear game? As I mentioned in my Snatcher review, I have yet to play a Metal Gear game. I have the first 3 sitting on my shelf over there, waiting to be played. I just haven't gotten around to it, but hopefully next year. Golden Joe Blow asks, what is some of your favorite music, musicians, musical artists, maybe a popular song of the moment, bands, etc., however you want to go with it. My music taste is eclectic, but at the same time, it is not even remotely current. I don't listen to the radio. I don't have any of those music streaming services. So unless someone else is playing the music, I don't hear a lot of new music. The things that I personally like to listen to that have sort of been on my iPhone forever, Nine Inch Nails is one of my favorite bands. Also, I really like the Tea Party. I'm a big classic rock fan, even though the definition of classic seems to be changing. But Led Zeppelin is my probably favorite of that sort of era. I also like, AC/DC, CCR. And I listen to a fair amount of rap as well. I really like Jay-Z and Guru and DMX. Wither Rose asks, what camcorder do you use and how much money was it? My camcorder is a Microsoft LifeCam Studio, I believe. So it's just a webcam sitting on top of my monitor. I think it was $100. I have a DSLR camera that would probably give me much better quality, but I haven't really figured out how to use it. I think the webcam's so easy. I can just pop it on the monitor. I can see myself, so I know that it's in focus and it's not like on my forehead or something. And I just haven't quite figured out how to do that with the camera yet, but I should probably do that at some time. Next question, or questions, are from Cricket, who has a number of questions. What tools do you use to edit your videos, equipment, software, etc.? For gameplay capture, I use a Hopage HD PVR Rocket, for the older systems at least. For if I'm recording anything on Xbox One or PS4, I just use whatever is on board the console there. I record with a Blue Snowball microphone, and I do my editing using Sony Movie Studio Platinum. Although I think I'm going to be looking into different options soon, because it's been giving me a ton of problems with the playback window and crashing and things. So everything is taking longer than it should, so I might look into replacing that at some point. Next question, how long do you take on each video? It depends. The longest videos are the ones that are scripted, like the retro reviews or the short games for busy people. My very first video I ever made took me 8 hours to edit, which I've gotten much faster and much better. But generally, for the typical retro game review, I will play through the entire game and record it. I'll transfer all that footage to my computer, go through, do a quick edit, cut out the garbage, pick pieces that I know I'm going to want to use in the video. Then I will write the script, then I will record the on-camera bits, and then I'll go and put it all together. So I'll do the final editing, and while I'm doing that, I do the voiceover. So not including the time it takes to play the game, it's probably a good 3 or 4 hours per video. If you had to pick only one genre of game to play, what would it be? That would be probably RPGs. I think those would give me the most different stories, the most lengthiest gameplay for sure. There is one more question from Cricket, but I'm sort of going to fold that into the next one, which is from Ocean Marie. Ocean Marie asks, was it hard to make the jump from just blogging to making videos, and why did you decide to do it? I've been reading your blog for a super long time. Thank you. Is it hard to do both? Well, I think I started videos mostly because that just seemed like the way of the future. Blogs are at least my blog was sort of stagnating. I mean, it's not about the traffic, but I did find sort of in the third year of blogging, my views were way up here, and then every year it was just down, 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 and that was kind of depressing, especially after I stopped talking about World of Warcraft. I lost a pretty huge portion of my audience because no one was coming to my site for guides and things. So I thought I'd try the video route, see how that went, and it seems to be going pretty well so far. As far as doing both, it's super hard to do both. There's only so much time in the day, and I'll often think of a topic about video games and think, would it make a good post or would it make a good video? And generally, I feel like it could be a better video than a post, although a post would be much faster and much easier. But yeah, it's definitely hard. And then even taking my food blog into account, my 2 blogs get, maybe 1 or 2 posts a month, whereas I do a couple videos a week. So I'm still trying to balance that. I would like to write more because it is a much faster and more immediate medium than the videos, but I haven't quite figured out how to do it yet. Next question comes from Dragons and Whimsy. What do you like about YouTube, and how does it compare to podcasting and blogging for you? I like YouTube, sort of, again, going from the last question, because I do get a lot more conversation here than I did on my blog. There's a lot more comments, there's some more discussion, though I do like the blog, and there's still some people I know who read and comment very frequently, and I really appreciate them. I feel like I'm reaching more people on YouTube than I would just on the blog. Blogging is faster. YouTube takes a while to make videos, especially the scripted ones. And then as far as podcasting is sort of the top of the 3, even though it's the one that I do the least. But I really love being on podcasts because then you get actual real-time voice-to-voice communication with people, which I really like. I mean, I love the conversations I have in comments and Twitter and everything, but there's something just, better about actually speaking to someone in real time about video games and being able to play off each other and maybe have your opinions changed and swayed by what the other person's saying. So I would really like to do more podcasting. I would love it if people invited me to their podcasts. I would really like to start my own podcast. I'm just having cold feet and not jumping the gun, trying to figure out what my what my podcast would be offering and if people would listen to it. But I do really, really love podcasting. Next question comes from the DJ Artillery. What does the Zelda franchise mean to you, and which is your favorite? I played one of the NES Zelda games. I think it was Adventure of Link. I didn't have it. I played it at a friend's house. So the real first Zelda game that I really sunk my teeth into was Ocarina of Time, which I still love. I think it's a great game. I spent a lot of time with it. I think it was grade 9 or so. I spent a lot of time playing that game, and it's great. I love all the temples and the puzzles and the dungeons and Epona. But in terms of what the series means to me, since then I haven't really kept playing Zelda. I played a bit of Twilight Princess, but never really finished it. And anything that uses motion controls, I just don't want to play at all. So Zelda's kind of fallen off my radar. But Ocarina of Time is a game that, definitely had a lot of play during a certain portion of my teenage years. Victor Man asks, which do you prefer, Final Fight or Streets of Rage? That's pretty easy. Streets of Rage wins by default because I haven't played Final Fight, although they do look very much the same. Collectorcast asks, when are you going to get Will to make an appearance? Will's my boyfriend. He seems to be camera shy. Collectorcast, I think that's more of a question for Will. You should ask him when he's going to be on one of my videos. He has an open invite. I would love if he'd come and talk about Sega, since he's the Sega guy. But so far I haven't had any luck. Maybe at MagFest I can get him drunk and convince him to appear on a pickup video or something. But yeah, I would ask him. J-Rock the Game Rocker, who spends more of their time on video games, you or Will? I think overall I spend more time on video games. that's sort of my number one hobby. If I'm not playing video games, I'm making videos or writing or talking about them on Twitter or something. So I definitely, I don't know, I feel like I spend most of my free time playing video games. He plays a lot too, and he probably plays more retro games than I do, whereas I play more modern games. But he also has other hobbies. He likes to go to the gym and things, whereas I just sit on my butt and play video games. Chris Ovac asks, what game are you most proud of owning? I'm not super proud of owning physical things, but I guess I'd say I really like it when I have the games that I had as a kid or as a teenager and I still have them. I had my original Nintendo console and my original games up to just a couple years ago, and then I sold them, which was misguided, and I'm sorry I did that, but I do still have a bunch of my PlayStation 1 games, particularly the RPGs. So I like that I've managed to hold on to at least some of the things that I've had for, 15 years or so. It sort of means more to me when it was my original version than one that I just picked up in a store or something. It's still early. I'm on my coffee. Next question comes from P1 of the Cartridge Brothers. What is your most and least favorite part of the gaming community? My most favorite part of the gaming community is how ubiquitous gamers are and how passionate they are. There's always going to be someone to talk to about games you like. It's not hard to find a gamer. When I start a new job, the first thing I tell people is I like video games, so I can see if there's, someone who's on the same wavelength as me. It's great to go out in my N7 sweater or something, and someone will usually say something about Mass Effect, and then I can get to talk to someone about Mass Effect. So I really like how easy it is to find someone to talk about our love of video games, and everyone feels very strongly, and I generally find gamers will always talk about the things they like, so that's a really good part of it. In terms of what I don't like about the gaming community, it's actually sort of part of that passion, which is a good thing, can also sometimes turn into a bad thing, and people have a tendency, some people get over defensive about games that they like, or they take things personally. Say my Kid Chameleon review, for example. I know a lot of people like that game. I didn't personally like it, so I didn't give it a very good review, and people just, come and call me names or tell me I don't know how to play or I'm not playing it right. And, it's not a personal attack if I don't like a game you like, or if I criticize a game you like. I criticize games that I like too. But, so sometimes there's this thing where people feel they need to take things personally, or like they need to defend a game or some big company that makes a game. Like they don't really need you to defend them. You can just let it go if people don't like the things that you like. Next question comes from Arcade Android. As someone who prizes short games for busy people, how do you feel about the current trend of new games being open world, feature heavy, and countless hours long? I definitely have been getting burnt out on open world games between Dragon Age Inquisition last year, sort of went into this year, Witcher 3, Fallout 4. I'm just burnt out. They're so long and they're just have so much content in them. And I don't particularly, I do like some open world games a lot, and I am an explorer naturally in games, so I like being given the option to explore. But for a lot of games, I don't think that them being huge and open world really add anything. Dragon Age Inquisition and Witcher 3, I probably would have liked them more if they weren't open world. I don't think that besides providing very pretty backdrops and things, I don't think that them being open world really added much to it. In Fallout 4, I think that one has to be open world, unless you're going to go way back and be a CRPG like Fallout 1 and 2. But in Fallout, the exploration is the draw of the game for me. Whereas in Witcher and Dragon Age Inquisition, the open world and exploration and travel time was just something I had to get through. And part of that problem is the map. If you put a bunch of little icons with every little thing to do, like every little bandit camp and treasure and place where you can gather resources, my inner completionist is going to want to do everything, despite the fact that doing those things isn't really fun. It's sort of grindy and MMO-like, and it ruins the pacing of the game. So unless something comes out in the near future that, I really, really want to play, I'm probably going to stay away from open world games for a little while. I was pretty disappointed when CD Projekt Red came out and said their next game, which is like a cyberpunk thing, was going to be even bigger than The Witcher 3. Witcher 3 was huge. Why do you need a bigger world than that? Just stop. Just focus on your wonderful writing, and you don't need to make the game 300 hours long to be good. All right. Last question comes from Chris R. How well does your NES console work? I still have the same one from when I was young, but I had to change the 16-pin connector. Do you have any tips on how to not make it take 5 minutes to get a game properly seated? My NES consoles work fine. I've got the normal NES console, I've got a top loader, and then sometimes I play NES games on the Retron if I'm recording and I want them to look nice. If you've already replaced the 72-pin connector, just make sure it's clean. Make sure any cartridge that you're putting in the console is clean. Just some rubbing alcohol and Q-tips works. If those things still aren't working, you could try removing the 10NES chip, which is the lockout chip. It's removed on my console, and in addition to removing the lockout naturally on the machine, it also, I find, helps so that you don't get that blinking red light problem and the game's not loading correctly. You can look up videos on YouTube. There's a bunch that will tell you how to do it. I think that's it. I think I've answered all the questions. There was almost 40 of them. So again, thank you so much to everyone who asked a question, and thank you to everyone who subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I really like talking to all of you. And now, I'm tired of talking. Bye-bye.